this survey period used different methodology. Well, the same methodology, but they changed the definition of basic literacy. They changed the definition for basic literacy and functional literacy. So with that, before we continue, we will direct the committee secretary to acknowledge our resource persons for today.
Good morning, sir. I'm covering for Comsec Hazel in today's hearing. Joining us for today's public hearing are as follows. From the Department of Education, Curriculum and Teaching, ASEC Jerome Buenviaje, Dr. Marilyn Siao, Dr. Rosalina Villaneza, Mr. Enrico Mendoza, Mr. Roderick Corpus. From Operations, we have ASEC Dexter Galban. From the Teacher Education Council Secretariat, we have Dr. Jenny Hoxon. And from the Department of Economic Planning and Development, DepDev, we have Ms. Yuko Lisette Domingo. From the Department of Health, we have Dr. Manuel Ballesteros. From the Department of Social Welfare and Development, we have Ms. Rosalie Dagulo. From the Department of Agriculture, Philippine Carabao Center, PCC, we have Ms. Rowena Galang. From the Department of Agriculture, National Dairy Authority, we have Attorney Marcus Antonius Andaya. From the Department of Interior and Local Government, we have Mr. Albert Dominic de los Santos. From the Early Childhood Care and Development, ECCD Council, we have Ms. Maria Teresa Medina, Ms. Naprel Dacudao. From the Philippine Statistics Authority, PSA, we have Mr. Adrian Cerezo and Ms. Jocelyn Abrenica. From the National Nutrition Council, we have Ms. Maria Lee Alpuerto. And from the Philippine Normal University, we have Dr. Maria Azela Tamayo. Everyone has been acknowledged, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Committee Secretary. And like I mentioned, the 2024 FLEMMS is quite unique because we added 208 million in order to further target the survey all the way down to the provincial level. Before, when FLEMMS was conducted, in the past, it was only up to regional level. And it was very difficult for government, including policymakers like us, to recommend intervention programs because regional level is quite big. No? Some regions will have 3 to 6 provinces, and it's very difficult to come up with targeted interventions. So in 2024, we allocated 200, one of the interventions of the Senate is to allocate 208 million pesos to drill down all the way to provincial level and also highly urbanized cities. And this is very important because now we have data that our governors and mayors can use in order to address illiteracy in their own localities. And this is quite a very important survey because now we can come up with intervention programs, especially coming 2026. We want to discuss this here formally so that when the budget season comes in, we can allocate budget to areas that need it the most, especially in addressing illiteracy in their locality. And admittedly, I've seen the presentation of the PSA, but I want this to be a formal discussion so that we will also hear recommendations and suggestions from other resource persons. We would like to also hear their comments on this new definition of the new definition of basic literacy and functional literacy. And we also want to hear your opinion on how to address overall illiteracy in our country. It's been a challenge, admittedly, because our country is quite big and our population is quite substantial. And addressing illiteracy in an archipelagic nation is also quite difficult because you also have to look for those people who need the intervention the most. No? So how to locate them, how to encourage them participate in our intervention program is quite a challenge. We also have an agency here, the Literacy Coordinating Council, who's been tasked to address literacy in our country. And I would use this opportunity also to conduct an oversight over their performance and see whether their mandate is being performed, their mandate is being addressed. And at the end of the day, the most important here is how do we address illiteracy in our country, considering that we have a specialized agency or a specialized unit solely tasked to address illiteracy in our country. So with that, we will start off with a presentation from the PSA on FLEMMS. FLEMMS stands for Functional Literacy Education and Mass Media Survey. And it's been conducted every 5 years. We're also looking to reduce it to maybe 3 years, no? So that we can have responsive data and responsive interventions on a short time period, no? So we'll start off with a presentation from PSA, and then later on we'll hear from the various government agencies their opinion on this presentation. All right, so we call on the PSA, Mr. Adrian Cerezo, to start off with their presentation on FLEMMS.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Mr. Chair, to our colleagues from the trifocal agencies and all the other invited agencies here, all those who are in this hearing. Magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat. We're now going to present the preliminary results of the 2024 Functional Literacy Education and Mass Media Survey. Next slide, please. In this presentation, as the chair said, we're going to provide an overview of the 2024 FLEMMS, particularly on the definition, coverage, and the parts of the methodology. We're going to discuss briefly on it. And then, of course, we're going to present the base results for the basic and functional literacy, particularly by age group and by region, and also the top 5 performing provinces and HUCs for both basic and functional literacy. And we're going to present also a comparison of the literacy rates among Asian countries. So, Mr. Chair, as you have already intimated, the FLEMMS aims to gather data on basic literacy, functional literacy, digital literacy, and mass media exposure, and other related data information to education, relevant to education and literacy. For this hearing, Mr. Chair, we're just going to present the results on basic literacy and functional literacy. That's why we called it a preliminary. This round is now the 7th in a series of literacy surveys, usually conducted every 5 years, as you have stated. But per PSA Board Resolution 2016 series of 2024, this is now going to be conducted every 3 years. So our next round for this survey will be on 2027. And also starting this survey round, the released literacy data is based on the results of individual tests done for each member of the sample households, no longer for as perceived by a proxy respondent. So all in all, for the gathered information on literacy, 572,910 individuals were tested, taken from 177,656 sample households that were successfully interviewed throughout the country. Next slide. So as the chair has stated a while ago, per PSA Board Resolution number 13, series of 2024, there's a shift and an upgrading of the operational definitions of the basic and functional literacy. In the current definition, basic literacy now, or the basic literate, are those who can read and write with simple understanding, meaning those who can follow basic instructions and can compute, while functional literates are those who can read, write, compute, and comprehend. Mr. Chair, comprehension here means a higher level of understanding, meaning being able to deduce or connect information together to be able to provide new information. However, prior to the 2024 FLEMMS, the basic literate are those who can read and write, and while functional literate are those who, by several criteria, at a minimum, can read, write, and compute, or can read, write, compute, and comprehend, or at least high school graduate in the old curriculum, or at least high school completer in the K-12 curriculum. The last criteria is what we call an automatic assignment, and this was based on a then Department of Education, Culture, and Sports DEX since 1989. So we were following this up to the 2019 series, but in the 2024, we elected to no longer consider this as a criteria. So we're now going to present to you the results of the basic literacy. Using the new concept of basic literacy, the basic literacy rate in 2024 is 90.0% for 5 years old and over. Mr. Chair, we cannot compare basic literacy rate for 5 years old and over in 2019 using the current definition, because questions on numeracy skill were asked only for 10 to 64 years old in the previous survey round. However, comparing 2019 and 2024 for age group 10 to 64 years old using the current definition, the basic literacy rate in 2024 stood at 93.1%, higher than the basic literacy rate in 2019 for age group at 89.7%. Applying the old definition, on the other hand, the first row, for both 2019 and 2024, we also observe an improvement of basic literacy of 5 years old and over from 93.8 in 2019 to 95.1% in 2024. So you may be wondering how we were able to get the current definition for the 2019 database. What we did was to simulate or disaggregate the appropriate variables or indicators that is found or extant in 2019 in order to come up with the actual definition. We disregarded the old criteria and filtered out and used new criteria to come up with the 2019 based results using the new definition. On the right hand part of the slide shows the actual number of basic literate population. So in terms of number of persons using the current definition for 5 years old and over, about 93 million were basic literate in 2024. For 10 years old and over using the current definition, there were 79 million basic literate in 2024, higher than the number in 2019 at around 72 million. Next slide, please. By region, we note that the basic literacy rate is highest in Central Luzon, standing at 92.8% or 2.8% higher than the national average, followed by the Cordillera Administrative Region, Region 4A, or the Calabar Zone, Region 7, and NCR at 92%. On the other hand, BARM recorded the lowest proportion of basic literate population 5 years old and over. This is followed by Region 8, then Region 9, NIR, and Mimaropa from the bottom. Next slide, please. We now show to you, Mr. Chair, the basic literacy rate of population 5 years old and over by sex and age group, which is important to our academic institutions. In this slide, we show that basic literacy rate was higher for females at 90.9% than for males at 89.0%, or nearly 2% higher for the females. For age group, the age group 20 to 24 years old had the highest basic literacy rate at 96.1%. On the other hand, the age group 60 years old and over reported the lowest basic literacy rate at 76.2%. This may look surprising, but it may actually be natural, Mr. Chair, due to a multitude of factors like other than illiteracy, like illnesses or ailments, meaning there are those who may have been previously literate but can no longer do so because either they are of poor eyesight or can no longer write because of specific ailments or illness like hand tremors or inability to write already. The next slide shows now the literacy rate of the top 10 provinces in the country and the top 10 highly urbanized cities. For the provinces, we note that the basic literacy rates were highest in Apayao at 95.2%, followed by Benguet, 94.9%, then Romblon, Nueva Ecija, Bohol, Rizal, South Cotabato, Bataan, Cavite, and Bulacan. For the HUCs, we note that Pasay City had the highest proportion of highly literate 5 years old and over, standing at 96.2%, followed by Cagayan de Oro City at 96.1%, then San Juan, Pasig City, Mandaue, Pateros, Olongapo City, Cebu City, Taguig City, and Makati City. Mr. Chair, we're now going to move on to functional literacy. Functional literacy using the current definition, meaning those who are able to not just read, write, and compute, but also be able to comprehend specific bodies of information and be able to comprehend them or understand. So for functional literacy, 70.8% were functional literate in 2024, higher than the functional literacy in 2019 at 61.7%. As I've explained a while ago, Mr. Chair, we backtracked the 2019 at the 2019 database and got the information using the new definition. So this trend is also noted using the old concept, meaning at the old concept, there's an increase from 91.6% to 93.1%. On the right-hand part of the table shows the number of individuals, so that using the current definition, 60 million were functional literate in 2024, up from 49 million in 2019, using the current definition. By region, we note that the Cordillera Administrative Region recorded the highest functional literacy rate at 81.2%, followed by NCR at 79.9%, Region 4A at 77.3%, Region 3 at 73%, and Mimaropa at 70.7%. On the other hand, Region 9 showed the lowest functional literacy rate at 59.3%, followed by Region 8 at 61.8%, then Caraga at 63.1%, then Region 1 at 64.3%, and BARM at 64.7%. By sex and age group, we note that females showed the higher functional literacy rate than males, similar to the basic literacy rate, but the gap is substantially higher at 6.5 percentage points. Same with the results on the basic literacy rate. The age group 20 to 24 years old recorded the highest functional literacy rate at 78.2%, while the age group 60 to 64 years old had the lowest functional literacy rate at 57.8%. As I've stated a while ago, this may be due to a multitude of factors with respect to the results for the 60 to 64 years old. Moving on to the provincial and HUC disaggregation, we note that the functional literacy rates were highest in Benguet at 87.9%, followed by Apayao at 86.8%, then Rizal, Romblon, Batangas, Siquijor, Bohol, Bataan, Cavite, and South Cotabato completes the top 10 provinces with the highest literacy rates. In terms of HUCs, Mr. Chair, San Juan City showed the highest proportion of functionally literate individuals at 94.5%, followed by Baguio City at 89.8%, then Pasig City, Pateros, Makati City, Las Piñas City, Taguig City, Mandaluyong City, Cagayan de Oro City, and Navotas City completes the top 10, Mr. Chair. Our next slide shows what we call the literacy gap, showing the basic and functional literacy rates of population 10 to 64 years old by age group. And we note that for the age group 10 to 64 years old, basic literacy is 93.1%, while functional literacy stands at 70.8%, showing a gap of 22.3 percentage points. This means that for every 100 individuals aged 10 to 64 years old, 22 individuals have comprehension difficulty. So the gap, on the other hand, the gap between basic literacy and functional literacy was highest in age group 60 to 64. So that for every 100 basic literate individuals in this age group, only 57 are functional literate. So again, we take this with the caveat that the age group 60 to 64 may be again due to various factors and not just to illiteracy. Our next slide, as I have stated in my introduction, shows now the basic literacy rate among ASEAN countries. So in our research, Mr. Chair, we note that what is being provided or published among the ASEAN countries varies with respect to the way they are implementing it. So there are several countries like Singapore, Malaysia, and Laos that implement or gather information in terms of literacy by doing individual tests. So we do so as well. On the other hand, a higher number of ASEAN countries use what we call proxy respondents, meaning uh, the literacy data is gathered using the perception of an individual household respondent perceiving the literacy skills of their household members. That's why we call them proxy, Mr. Chair. So among those who use them are Brunei Darussalam, Cambodia, Indonesia, Myanmar, Thailand, and Vietnam. In order for to be able to compare, we also use this in one of our questionnaires so that we can provide an appropriate comparative result. So for the Philippines, we adopted the two approaches. However, but the official data will be based on individual tests, as this is more reliable than the proxy respondent approach. The use of proxy respondent is done for comparability, not just with among ASEAN, but also to compare with the previous data or FLEMMS rounds starting 2019 and below. So in this table, we show that the Philippines basic literacy rate under the old concept using the individual test stands at 94.6% in 2024. By the old concept, we mean only the ability to read and write with with understanding a short, simple statement about their everyday life. So, Mr. Chair, just to add, the other countries do not state their basic literacy rate as basic literacy, where they term it as an adult literacy rate. And this also explains why several of the countries do not show any functional literacy rate, meaning what they show as the adult literacy rate, they also provide as the same data for what we also term as functionally literate. This is important to note because SDG 4.6.1 requires for functional literacy. However, upon research, we note that what they provide for this SDG indicator is the same as what they provide for adult literacy. So countries like Singapore and Thailand show the same data for their adult literacy and functional literacy. So going back to the data, we show that for those who implement individual tests, the Philippines stands at 94.6, slightly lower than Laos, with Singapore at highest at 97.6, followed by Malaysia. For those who use proxy respondents, we stand at 96.1%, higher than, of course, Myanmar and Cambodia, and even Thailand. Highest here is Indonesia, followed by Brunei. We are similar with Vietnam. On the other hand, what we provide, what we release is, as the official basic literacy rate for the age group 15 years old and over is 91.6, using the current definition, which is to read, write, and compute. Again, for the other ASEAN countries, their basic or adult literacy is only for the ability to read and write. For us, it is read, write, and compute. That's our presentation, Mr. Chair, and magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Mr. Cerezo. As we all noted, let's go back to the slide earlier, slide 4 of the PSA. And as we all noted, starting 2024, the definition for basic literacy and functional literacy has changed. It's simplified. For example, for basic literacy, it's now read, write with understanding and compute. So the bar is higher.
Higher, yes.
Uh, and then for functional literacy, it's read, write, compute, and comprehend. And we remove the automatic categorization of high school graduate in the old curriculum, or at least junior high school completer in the K-12 curriculum. No, so
Yes,
now
Mr.
it's
Chair.
simpler, meaning everyone will be tested, and if you can read, write, compute, and comprehend, you're functional literate.
Correct, sir.
Okay. So having said that, uh, I was looking at the time series of the data for FLEMS. Will flash on slide 2. The good news is from 1989 to 2019 seems like we're improving in terms of functional literacy. In terms of basic literacy, it seems like it's flat, meaning it's sideways. But if you look at the functional literacy, it looks like we are improving. But after the change in definition, obviously we have the numbers have also dramatically changed. No? And in my opinion, and I'll ask everyone about this, the minimum bar our country should always reach for is functional literacy. No? That should be the minimum. We should not be happy with basic literacy. No? Basic literacy is just read, write, and simple computation. No? The country should always achieve or target functional literacy. No? And in this case, because of the new definition, which I agree, no? Because in our rounds in EDCOM, I've seen with my own eyes 15-year-olds who cannot read. 15-year-olds who cannot read simple story, have problems doing simple math, meaning there are really high school graduates who graduate from our system, but they're not functionally literate. No? And that's a reality that we should all acknowledge. And I've seen it with my own eyes. Now the next question is, how grave is this problem? No? And this is where FLEMS will come in. So in this case, I just want to put this on record that if you look at our functionally literate, 70% of our population is functionally literate. No? And this is a number that we should improve. I want the LCC to take note of this. Nakita nyo naman ito, Mr. Mendoza? Have you seen this new FLEMS?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Yes, Mr. Chair, the council requested the PSA to present these initial results during its last council meeting, Your Honor.
But this should be the new target, that 70% should not be 70%. The PSA presented earlier, I noticed that the PSA presented all the positives. No? The top 10 in basic literacy, the top 10 in functional literacy. But in order to really capture a complete picture of where we are, and also where we need to put money in terms of implementing intervention, we looked at the other way around. We looked at the bottom 10 and we looked at the illiterates. No?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
I noticed that in your presentation, you didn't present the you presented the literacy, but you didn't present the illiterates. No? But for purpose of our mamaya na yan. Can you, for purposes of our intervention, we need to also look at where the illiterates are. No? And the good thing about this presentation is it drilled down all the way to provincial level. No? So meaning we can now have targeted intervention as granular as provincial level. Sana nga kung meron pang city level or municipal level, but I know that will be very costly. No? Yeah, you can respond, Mr.
Yep.
Chris.
Thank you, sir. we, if it is needed by any of our colleagues here, and of course you, I think we already provided to your office the entire list of the uh, literacy rates by province. We can also provide it to those who are requesting. Just for the record, sir, the bottom 10 provinces in terms of basic literacy rate are the following: the provinces of Tawi-Tawi, Basilan, Davao Occidental, Northern Samar, Sarangani, Samar del Sur, Zamboanga del Sur, Sultan Kudarat, and Lanao del Norte. So the bottom two provinces are Tawi-Tawi and Basilan, both from BARM, which is the region also with the lowest basic literacy rate, meaning most of them, Mr. Chair, are in the south and also in Region 8.
That's why we requested for those data, because we want to see the other side of the coin, which is the illiteracy. No, because that's where the intervention will come in, and that's where efficient allocation of resources will come in terms of launching targeted interventions. So we looked at that, and we'll start off with slide 3. So we looked at the other side of the coin, and this is the number of this is the illiterate. This is the illiterates.
Yes, sir. Not basically literate.
The title is wrong, but this is illiterates. Just change the title so that it won't be confusing. So we also looked at the other side, no, which is the illiteracy, no, and so that we also computed the absolute number, so we know the gravity of the illiteracy, so that we will also have a good grasp of the number of illiterates, no, in legend. The legend. Hold on now. We'll just change the graphs kasi antok pa itong mga staff ko eh. Not basically literate, not functional. Okay, all right. So we'll show slide 12. So this is sorry, slide 3. There. So slide 3 is basically showing the number of illiterates, basic illiteracy and functional illiteracy in our country. So in 2024, we have, this is also correlating it to our population, no? to our current census of population. So in terms of not basically illiterate or basic illiteracy, there are approximately 5.8 million people who are not basically literate or basic illiterates, no? So if you look at the functional illiterate, okay, there are about 24.8 million people in our country, no? So in other words, 5.8 million cannot read, cannot write, cannot compute. 24.8 million have problems understanding and comprehending. They can read, they can write, but they cannot comprehend and they cannot understand. No?
Yes, sir.
So this is the gravity of our situation right now. And I support the new definition because now they have a good picture of where we are in terms of basic literacy and functional literacy. And I'll tell you why. No? In your computation, let's go back to PSA. And this is where DepEd will come in. In slide 9, we were looking at the data. In the old definition, can you flash itong slide 9? in the old definition, there are about 79,100,000, compute ko lang 79,135,000. Tama? In the old definition, the definition of functional literacy is we have 79 million constituents who are considered functional literate. But in the current definition, which you remove high school and junior high school,
Automatic.
the number of functional literacy or literate went down to 60 million constituents. No, so that's a difference of about 18.9 million. No, so in other words, there are high school graduates and junior high school graduates who were in the old definition considered automatically as functional literate, but in the new definition, because tinest nyo lahat di ba? Pati yung mga high school at junior high school tinest nyo, they did not pass the new definition of functional literacy.
Accurate, sir.
Tama?
Yeah.
So in other words, they graduated from our system, 18 million of them, whether it's the old system or the new system, but they are not functional literate. Tama?
Yes, sir.
And that's a problem of basic education. Because paano sila nag-graduate nang hindi sila functional literate? Iba yung hindi pumasok No? Iba rin yung pumasok ka but nakagraduate ka but you're not functional literate. No? And this is where basic education comes in because that 18 million who graduated not being functional literate should not happen. No one should graduate in our basic education system. No one will graduate in our basic education system that will not be functional literate.
I think, Mr. Chair, that was the original intent of the old criteria. But apparently, without testing, then we were not able to, it's like it was masked all throughout. Now that we were able to test, now we note that there are actually a significant number who are passing or graduating, but are not really functionally literate, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, so we need to address this because when we were doing our observations in EDCOM, we also saw that. Like I mentioned earlier, there were 15-year-olds who who went through the system. They're junior high school, but they cannot read a simple story. No, so it's actually happening on the ground. No, that's actually happening on the ground, and that should not happen. This is where DepEd should already be proactive in making sure that no one will graduate not being functional literate.
If we may add, sir, to the information, we recently are able to distill by high functional literacy by highest grade completed, and we note that only 79% of senior high school graduates in the K-12 are functionally literate, meaning there's around 21% who are not able to.
Can you repeat that? That's
by highest grade completed, Mr. Chair, in the entire country, 79% of senior high school graduates in the K-12 curriculum are functionally literate. So that's around 21% short.
Okay. That's in 2024.
Yes, sir.
So based on your FLEMS, that's not in your presentation. Based
Yes,
on your FLEMS,
We just recently.
you've detected that 21% of our senior high school graduates are not functionally literate.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's quite concerning. No, that means 1 out of 5 of our graduates cannot comprehend and understand the simple story. And that's something that we need to address. Let me also show some slides that we computed. And we also looked at the ones that are in the let me look at the region first, the regions. The bottom for basic literacy. I think page 50, slide 15. So for purposes of launching targeted intervention programs, we looked at the basic illiteracy in our country. So unfortunately, BARM is the number one in terms of the number of basic illiteracy. That's 16% of their population. And then you have Region 9, and then you have Region 8, and so on. But if you look at BARM, almost 500,000 people there cannot read, write, and compute.
Yes, sir.
So-
Unfortunately.
That's a staggering number. No? So, and if you drill down to by province, the basic illiteracy,
It's tawi-tawi, sir.
yeah, tawi-tawi. That's slide, what slide is that? 16. Here. So if you look at by province, Tawi-Tawi has the highest basic illiteracy, no? At 36%. No? So in other words, 117,000 of their constituents in that island cannot read, write, and compute.
By the current criteria, yes, sir.
Correct. So that's why in launching an intervention program, we have to target all of these provinces and to make sure that these provinces get the necessary funding and attention to address basic, at least naman in basic illiteracy in their locality.
Yes, sir. In fairness, in our presentation to the LCC and the Execom of DepEd, Secretary Angaras also took note of this. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah, because this is important. Imagine the population of Tawi-Tawi. What's the population now? So if you look at 36%, that's about almost 1 out of 3 of their constituents cannot read, write, and compute. No? And it's very difficult to fight poverty in that locality if their constituents cannot read, write, and compute. What kind of jobs they will be getting? No? So it's very difficult to break the cycle of poverty if basic skills are not present in their locality. We'll go to functional literacy. We'll look at the functional literacy by region. If you look at functional literacy, Region 9 is the highest. And then you have Region
Region 8, sir.
Region 8.
Follows.
Hold on, we'll just flash it on the screen so that's easier to follow. Yeah. And Region 9 has the highest, and that's about 1.2 million in terms of constituents. And then Region 8 is the next. That's about
Region 8,
1.3 million
Sorry.
constituents. And then you have Region 13. No? If you go to by province, if you drill down by province, where's that by province? Slide 28. Slide 28.
Again, it's tawi-tawi, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Tawi-Tawi is still the wala dito. Yeah. Tawi-Tawi has the highest in terms of functional illiterate. Mga illiterates to, functional illiterates. That's about 218,000 in terms of constituents. The number on the left is the number of constituents. You have Davao Occidental, which is the next, 53%. of their constituents are functionally illiterate, which is 130,000. And next will be Zamboanga del Sur, 49%. About 399,000 are functionally illiterate. No, so again, in Tawi-Tawi, if we want to bring businesses there, have meaningful livelihood programs, very difficult if people cannot even understand and comprehend a simple story. No? So again, breaking the cycle of poverty is very difficult if you have problems with literacy, both basic and functional literacy.
It has an impact in appropriate communication, Mr. Chair. Yeah.
So this is very important, and I hope LCC will take note of these numbers. We cannot just meet here in the room. We have to cascade this all the way to the provinces. Now that data is available per province, no? It's important that we flag the local government units in that area to address illiteracy in their locality, either by their own using their own resources or allocating national resources so that it can be augmented. No? But definitely we cannot just sit down and sleep well at night, knowingly that we have constituents who cannot read, write, and compute.
We agree, Mr. Chair.
Because as long as there's somebody who cannot read, write, and compute, there will be poverty in our country. So we need to break that cycle of poverty by injecting education. And if you look at the age group, let's go at the age group. A lot of them in the PSA age group ba tayo ng illiteracy? If you look at the curve, a big chunk will come from 5 to 9 and also spread across different age groups. No? So meaning these are outside of the DepEd system already. No?
Yes, sir.
So intervention programs should also be available to people who are working. No?
Yes, sir. As we have, our NS MAPA has intimated to you, perhaps the alternative learning system can come into
Correct.
play here.
So how do we attract people who are working to educate themselves or teach themselves how to read, write, and compute, or how to enroll in intervention programs so that they will be taught how to read, write, and compute?
Agree, sir.
I think yung mga nasa DepEd system natin, there's hope with that because they're in the system, no? And in this, we'll take this survey for now, no? The 5 to 9, the 10 to 14, the 15 to 24, at least partly 15 to 24, they're in the DepEd system. So intervention remediation programs can be injected so that this cohort can graduate or will graduate with at least functional literacy skills. No? Those who are outside of the DepEd system, that's the challenge. Yun ang mas mahirap because we have to locate them, we have to encourage them to enroll in our intervention programs such as the alternative learning system and others. No? So that's a challenge. There are two cohorts here, one inside the DepEd system, one outside of the DepEd system. No, the outside of the DepEd system is very difficult. No? But nevertheless, I really believe that we need to mobilize the local government units to locate those outside of the DepEd system. That's why the granular data is very important. At least the governor, alam niya na, the governor of Tawi-Tawi will know that there's a big problem of illiteracy in his locality, no? And they can do some intervention programs there.
We just don't know, sir, if the DILG is also part of this hearing right now. But
well, they're
they
part
will
of the
be considered,
LCC.
sir.
DILG is part of the LCC. LCC, the Literacy Coordinating Council, their job is to coordinate, to make sure that there's a whole of nation approach in terms of addressing literacy, and DILG is part of their is one of their members. No? So we'll hear from LCC later on, because that's an important body that will address all of these problems.
By the way, Mr. Chair, I would just like to inform our colleagues, there's going to be a regional cascading of this. So the PSA regional offices are going to present the results down at the regions and respective provinces, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you. I have some more questions, but I'll ask them later on so that we can hear everyone's voices. We'll start off with DepEd, and give us your thoughts on the presentation, and how are we addressing basic and functional illiteracy in our DepEd system.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The DepEd team this morning, good morning, everyone. The DepEd is going to report, we'll be giving you a report to inform the Committee on Basic Education on the ongoing initiatives of the Department of Education into the related ways to address or contribute into the recent FLEMMS result. These are all under the directives of Secretary Sani Angara in line with the DepEd's 5-point reform agenda. With me are the Bureau of Learning Delivery, the Bureau of Alternative Education, and the Operations Strand. The Secretariat of the Literacy Coordinating Council, which is also lodged in DepEd, will be having a separate report. So I'll turn over the microphone to BLD, the Bureau of Learning Delivery first.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. So, as mentioned by ASEC Jerome, the next two slides will focus on the initiatives in relation to addressing the gaps as presented by the PSA. The first one is really on curriculum reforms. This is to have a paradigm shift on the focus or the prioritization of what DepEd will have to do. The curriculum focus on the foundational literacy and numeracy. Next is to deepen learners' comprehension across disciplines. The third is to foster critical and creative thinking. And the last one is to ensure that meaningful application of the knowledge in real-life contexts. The second is the teacher capacity building. Through this, the early language literacy and numeracy program will look into the teachers, the training on phonological awareness, fluency, comprehension, and vocabulary development, which is very essential in ensuring that our teachers are capable of teaching the basic literacy skills so that our learners will be able to have the same competencies. Then as part of that also, we are doing a formative assessment reforms. We have to introduce, and that aims to move beyond from mere factual recall and instead evaluate learners' understanding, analysis, and problem-solving ability. The third one is a school-based initiative. This is the institutionalization of Learning Action Cell to provide teachers with structure, collaborative spaces to analyze literacy data, share effective strategies, and design context-specific instructional improvement. The promotion of collaborative expertise ensure that our school leaders, teachers, and learning coordinators work together to co-develop solutions grounded in learners' data, fostering collaborative accountability and sustained improvement. This initiative aligns fully with the insights drawn from the FLEMMS findings and reflect our commitment to raising both basic and functional literacy among our learners. And the fourth one is targeted intervention program. Of course, we all know the ARAL program, which is spearheaded by our beloved chair. is to provide structured literacy and numeracy recovery for struggling learners from grades 1 to 10. Then, of course, we have the learning camp that offer intervention for consolidation and enrichment activity that reinforce comprehension and higher order thinking skills. The 2024 FLEMMS finding reaffirms a fundamental truth. Basic literacy is not enough. For education to truly transform lives, we must focus on ensuring that learners' comprehension critically engage with and apply knowledge. Functional literacy is the bridge between education and empowerment. It equips learners to think independently, solve real-world problems, and actively contribute to society. BLD, therefore, have the following strategic direction. The first one is strengthen comprehension-centered teaching across all learning areas. The next is sustain and expand early grade intervention to build a strong foundation. The third one is to localize teaching and learning resources to enhance relevance and inclusivity. The fourth one is to institutionalize functional literacy benchmark within curriculum and assessment practices. And the last one is foster a culture of collaborative expertise within schools, ensuring that improvements are systematic, data-driven, and sustainable. We believe that functional literacy is not merely a skill. It is a right, gateway to individual empowerment and national development. Through these collective actions, we aim to bridge the gap from basic to functional literacy, ensuring that every Filipino learner is prepared not just to succeed in school, but to thrive in life.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. For the Bureau of Alternative Learning System, which is the focal person implementing the alternative learning system. Based on the data, there's an increasing number of learners under the basic literacy program. Same with the accreditation and equivalency program. Given the result, the survey result, the Bureau of Alternative Learning System, Alternative Education recognizes the important need to intensify efforts in delivering the basic literacy program and the accreditation and equivalency program, specifically to the marginalized sectors who lack access to basic education system and for whom ALS is the only option for completing basic education. Mr. Chair, the next slide will show the ongoing initiatives of the Bureau of Alternative Education as mandated by Republic Act 11510. First is the enhancement of the mapping. We are currently enhancing the mapping form, ALS Form 1, to include the learners with disabilities and other groups of learners. Of course, we will use the data from the PSA. Next is there's an ongoing pilot implementation of the functional education and literacy program, which we think it will encourage more learners out of school to join or enroll in the alternative learning system. Third is we are currently crafting the complementarity framework between alternative learning system and formal school system, which will allow the learners to seamlessly move from formal system to alternative learning system or vice versa. And currently, there's ongoing construction of school-based learning centers for alternative learning system. Currently, we have 8 learning centers being constructed, Mr. Chair. Thank you. That's for the Bureau of Alternative Education.
Mr. Chair, on the part of the operations team that focuses on learner support services to aid in improving the literacy of our learners, following the guidance of Secretary Sunny to really delve into the data and conduct substantial analytics to see how we can improve outcomes, we have been able to, for the very first time, establish a correlation between support programs such as the school-based feeding program and learning outcomes. And to probably provide insight as to the process, we cross-referenced our data points using the comprehensive rapid literacy assessment and the outcomes of our school-based feeding program, because both of these data points have a before and an after component, thus increasing our confidence in the outcomes. And at the same time, we took into consideration following cohorts in order to ensure that there is a comparison. And following that analysis, and Mr. Chair, I'd like to provide a caveat that this still only focuses on a regional level analysis. We do hope to go to a school level analysis as we get more robust data from our field offices. But following the general trend, we have been able to establish a moderate correlation between our school-based feeding program outcomes and the literacy of particular regions, meaning those that showed the highest improvement in terms of the reduction in malnutrition, those also showed the highest increases in terms of literacy within a single academic year. And we did take note that in general, the trend is that it affected the severely wasted learners more than the wasted learners. However, as mentioned, we conducted analysis following two different cohorts. Next slide, please. That looks into the outcomes before and at the end of the school year. So if we will look at the correlation, the strength of correlation between support programs like a school-based feeding program and the literacy rate decreases as you go higher in age brackets, further reinforcing the analysis that's already being discussed in EDCOM 2, that we need to invest in early years education and early years intervention, because feeding programs, for example, that go higher might have limited impact already in terms of the literacy outcomes, just specifically. And in terms of impact on learning by grade level, we did take note that the grade 1 learners followed the trend wherein the severely wasted learners manifested greater improvements in terms of literacy than wasted learners. But when they go to grade 2, it's only the wasted learners that are showing sensitivity to school-based feeding program in terms of improvement in literacy. So these are just some of the things that the Department of Education is working on to improve literacy outcomes beyond the curriculum and teaching component and in classroom interventions. Mr. Chair, for the guidance and reference of the body. Thank you.
Yan po ang ulat ng DepEd. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you for that. I'll go back to a slide that I showed earlier. The high school number of high school graduates who are not functionally literate. We converted that into a graph. Just show it. So here. So this is the same number as the PSA table earlier. Now we just converted it into a graph form, so it's can be easily visualized. If you look at the 2024 figure, there are 18 million students who the PSA detected that are senior high school that are high school graduates and junior high school graduates but are not functionally literate. So meaning they graduated from our basic education system, but they cannot read, they cannot understand and comprehend a simple story. That should not happen. The very basic goal of basic education is to become functionally literate. That's non-negotiable yan eh. Non-negotiable that a student who will graduate from our basic education system should be functionally literate. But that's not the case now. And in our EDCOM rounds, we have detected kids as late as 15-year-olds who cannot read the simple story. Now we've detected that. We've seen that on the ground, and I'm sure most of you who are long-time teachers, who are practitioners, who are principals have seen this also on the ground. We have to address this. We have to find them and address that. So the ARAL bill has been signed into law already. The IRR was also signed by the department. It's about time to roll it out. No, so the first order of business is to look for those students who are not functionally literate, and then make sure that they are given the correct intervention program, whether it's a tutor, whether it's remedial classes, but they should not graduate functionally illiterate. No? No, hindi non-negotiable yan eh. Non-negotiable yan. So may I know from DepEd, are we now looking for these students? Because if we don't target those students, itong 18 million will not go down. No, it will stay the same or probably exacerbate, get worse. No, so are we now with the ARAL law, are we now looking for those students that are not functionally literate and targeting them?
Yes, Mr. Chair. In the past, we don't have the PhilErie for secondary or the junior high school. We don't have PhilErie. Our PhilErie is only for elementary that starts with grade 4, 5, and 6 because we have CRLA for 1 to 3. So that last year we were able to finalize the text for our PhilErie in the junior high school so that we started administering the PhilErie for junior high school last year so that we have the data on who needs the intervention and who needs the enhancement and so that these students were already catered this summer, but comes school year, we will be conducting the beginning of school year assessment for PhilErie, which will guide us as to who are these learners who needs intervention, and that will be our focus for this summer and even the school year of next, which is under ARAL program. We take note of that, Mr. Chair.
It's good to hear that we now have PhilErie for.
Yes.
So can you explain to us, Dr. Villaneza? So for grades 1 to 3 is CRLA.
Yes.
Alam ko marami yan, no? Medyo nakakalito nga eh. No, grade 1 to 3 CRLA, after grade 4 to 10 is PhilErie
Yes,
already.
okay.
Okay.
Because CRLA just measure the basic literacy skills. So yes, comprehensive as we all know that CRLA is a comprehensive reading. Okay. Then so it's focused on the basic literacy, while PhilErie is a reading level assessment test. So it gauges the reading ability of the learners as to especially with their grade levels. Because we all know that the readability level of the text affects the reading ability of the learners. So that the best way for us to determine whether that learner is really capable of reading in his grade level, we have to provide that learners with the readability text. So dapat mag-match. So that is PhilErie. So if we administer PhilErie, we will be able to determine as to the reading ability of the learners, so that it does not mean that the learners is grade 7, but if the result of the assessment reveals that the reading ability of that learner is not really grade 7, then the intervention should come in, because we need to raise the reading ability of that learners to the grade level where he is into. And that is what we're trying to address in the PhilErie.
So the PhilErie for grades 4 all the way to grades 10 will be implemented this coming school year, 2026, 2020, 2025,
yes,
2026.
But the grades 4 to, we already have the grades 4 to 6 before. What we really develop is the grades 7, 8, 9, 10, and we started already this end of school year.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. But the grade 4 to 6, you have conducted that?
Yes po.
Okay. And do you have the results for grade 4 to 6?
Yes po. Yes po.
So what's the, for the last school year, what are the results before and after? Beginning of school year, end of school year.
The result of the PhilErie will tell us that, there are lesser number of frustration, learners in the frustration level are reduced. because we have that as per category. But we cannot really tell whether where they go, where they went to independent but the point is that their reading ability was increased. They raised from frustration to independent and even dependent readers.
Okay. So meaning throughout the school year, they improved.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Let's do this. Let's do this. So please submit to us the very last results. No, so
Yes,
we
po.
want to analyze that.
po.
And this coming school year, you will launch the Phil Erie for grade 7 to grade 10. Okay. And that will enable the PED to detect who are
Yes.
those students who need intervention, who are
Yes.
not functionally literate.
Yes. And even to the school level, that is why we need to furnish our schools and divisions a copy so that they will have an intervention to specific learners.
What are the interventions? For example, if a student is detected a non-reader or frustrated reader, what are the interventions a school can do in order to address those students who are frustrated and non-readers?
Intervention, Mr. Chair, is really a focus or individualized, like or even a small group. Like for example, if the students have problem with decoding, so they will be provided with decodable reading materials. And worst comes if there are really learners who could not even identify letters or sounds, they really have to be provided with the same intervention. Yes.
So principals and teachers can now use targeted intervention.
Yes, po.
This is really for per student rather than the whole class. No, it's
Yes.
really looking for those
Yes.
students.
We're looking at differentiated instruction in the classroom because we categorize the learners as to frustration, independent, dependent, and
Okay,
readers.
that's good to hear. And let us know if there will be funding requirements because it's important. We would like to make sure that this program is supported. Again, no, the goal here is to prevent them from graduating being functionally illiterate. No?
For the information of our honorable chair, we already have the end of school year report for Phil Erie this year, where the result of that was the basis of conducting the summer program that we are launching also, like the learning camp. So we already have that.
Dr. Shah,
For
you want
grade
to
7 to 10.
do you want to participate?
Yes, Mr. Chair, just a clarification. We have actually administered Phil Erie already in grades 7 to 10. So we have previously the grades 4 to 6, and this end of the school year, we have already the results for our grade 7 to 10, and that's key stage
For
3.
the last school year?
Yes.
Okay, so in other words, the for grade 7 to 10, principals and teachers are now implementing
Yes,
intervention
yes,
programs.
yes.
So we will see some improvements in terms of functional literacy
Yes, and we're
in
using
our
the
basic
data.
education.
Yes, Mr. Chair. We're
Bakit
using the
maabot sila ng ganong level that they are not functionally literate? Why is that so? Because they should not graduate from one level to the other not being functionally literate.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we are now reviewing our grading system, our assessment, so that we can address this.
Go ahead, Dr. Villanesa.
If I may add, Mr. Chair, we focus so much in the early literacy. And if we know that, we all know that if you are a secondary school teacher, you don't have the knowledge skills. It's not in their curriculum, the concept of teaching beginning reading, because it is presumed that they're already there's learners. So if their learners come to reach the secondary or the junior high school, and they are still in frustration level, but before we don't have the assessment, our secondary school teacher cannot provide the appropriate intervention because basically they don't have the knowledge and skills on how to teach early literacy. It's not within the curriculum of the secondary school teachers in the universities, in the pre-service. So that there is really a need for us to train a reading teacher for secondary, so that each of the secondary school will have a reading teacher who will address the needs of these learners who are really beginning or frustrations in terms of reading ability.
Yeah, but I would assume that by the time they reach grade 7, they
Yeah.
should not be frustrated readers anymore.
It's a challenge.
No, they should be complex readers already, no? Grade 7, your first year high school. So meaning you should be, your comprehension is deeper, your comprehension is wider. There should be no more frustrated readers by that level. But I like I said, no, I keep on repeating this. I saw that with my own eyes, that they reach junior high school and they're still non-readers or frustrated readers. So, but the feel eerie is something that I support. In fact, in Valenzuela, we use that, no, beginning and end of the year. And now that we have launched it all the way to grade 10, it's good to measure. No, at least we can detect them at the DepEd level, DepEd system. Because when they go out of the system, it's much more difficult. Nagtatrabaho na sila, they have families already, they're doing other things. It's so hard for them to be attracted to the alternative learning system or other programs because they will be sacrificing their livelihoods in order to study. So that's why at the DepEd level, we should already address that. Well, call on LCC, headed by Mr. Mendoza. And I understand that you have seen this presentation. This is very important presentation. And I want to hear from LCC their comments on the presentation, and at the same time, what are they doing to address this problem of functional illiteracy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. Here are the recommendations of the Literacy Coordinating Council on the initial results of the 2024 FLEMMS. We have identified 6, and these are just some of the recommendations that the Secretariat prepared, and some of which were also gathered from the members of the Council. First is that the curriculum should be enhanced, and that targeting teaching strategies should be implemented. And these strategies should address the unique learning gaps, strengths, and contexts of different groups of learners, especially those who are struggling with reading and writing. The second recommendation is the implementation of remediation in terms of learning loss and gender responsive interventions, which are very important and crucial at both the school level and community learning center levels, and address the widening educational gaps. The third is the foundational literacy programs that should be strengthened in early grades. No? This must be strengthened and introduce structured programs that build essential reading and writing skills among young learners at the beginning of their education. Fourth is on alternative learning system. It is recommended that the basic literacy program and accreditation and equivalency program are strengthened in order to ensure that both basic and functional literacy are developed among out-of-school youth and adults. And lastly, there's a need to sustain literacy efforts during transitions between key stages, meaning learners should continue receiving appropriate learning interventions as they move from one stage to another in order for the learners to be able to keep up with increasing literacy demands. Now, as for the initiatives of the Literacy Coordinating Councils and our ways forward, considering the results of these FLEMS, There is an ongoing research study that is being undertaken by the council in partnership with the Philippine Normal University and other um, state universities engaged by PNU. And this is on the benchmarks for adult literacy competencies. We would like to determine what other forms or types of literacies are needed in order for a Filipino to be functionally literate. So initially, we are working already on we are done with the field testing, and we are currently working on the data analysis and consolidation, results of which will be presented to the council in the coming months. Next is the LCC localization program. This is one of the major programs of the council wherein we engage local government units so that they may support the DepEd, implement or support the DepEd and the learners of the basic education, as well as they are engaged in community-based literacy program implementation. The DepEd and the DLG has recently issued a joint memorandum circular that provides guidelines for LGUs to create their own local literacy councils so that they can do literacy mapping, they can address the literacy needs of their local communities, they can implement community-based literacy interventions, allocate resources, and provide support to schools and community learning centers. The LCC also intensifies its advocacy efforts to actively engage all stakeholders in the collective goal of increasing literacy rates, ensuring that all hands are on deck in terms of literacy development. Now, moving forward, we will institutionalize the literacy mapping in coordination with the Bureau of Alternative Education and the DILG to ensure that those that need literacy interventions at the barangay levels are located, identified, and provided with appropriate interventions. We also promote literacy innovation programs and share best practices by recognizing our LGUs, NGOs, and other stakeholders through our National Literacy Awards, where innovative literacy programs that address unique local challenges are recognized. And lastly, the LCC will continue on forging new alliances with civil society, non-government organizations, and the private sectors to mobilize additional resources and expertise for literacy promotion. Now, as mentioned earlier, the LCC will also, we will bring this up, all the things that were mentioned in this hearing, including the recommendations of the Honorable Chair, particularly cascading all these data to all local government units so that they will be able to be given technical assistance both by the DepEd in coming up with community-based literacy interventions that are effective using the current tools that we have at the LCC, as well as monitoring rubrics. Now, the next slides show the accomplishments of the Literacy Coordinating Councils. So we have, in our effort to work with local government units, we were able to recognize outstanding LGUs and NGOs through our National Literacy Awards. We do it once every 2 years. And this provides recognition to those community workers and local chief executives who are really serious in ensuring that the literacy needs of their local communities are addressed. We were able to provide LGUs with guidance on how to create, reconstitute, and strengthen their local councils through a manual that the council developed. We were able also to continue capacitating LGUs on LCC localization program and in the implementation of exemplary and effective community-based literacy programs. We also developed standards and rubrics for exemplary community-based literacy program and engagement as a result also of the research that we conducted. ensuring that LGUs are provided with guidance and technical assistance on how to effectively address literacy problems in their communities. DepEd and DILG also issued the joint memorandum circular enjoining all LGUs to really look into the literacy situation in their communities, and the result of these FLEMS will be very, very helpful for these provinces, initially for the provinces, for the highly urbanized cities, because we have data for them, regions, and hopefully in the coming future, also cities and municipalities. We were also able to engage internal and external partners that support our programs, projects, and activities. And we also developed a repository for a database on literacy we call the National Literacy Information System via the LCC website. We will also were able to develop the National Literacy Framework, also a product of the research study that the Council conducted, and that provided the framework for functional literacy and the other types of literacies that Filipinos should have. So we also were able, in addition, to develop our plans, strategic plans and communication plans, and expand advocacy through information, education, and community material development, as well as disseminating them to our stakeholders. And lastly, this is the latest achievement of the LCC. The Philippines was awarded for its significant contribution to literacy by a nation, and this special award or recognition, given only to our country, was accorded by the World Literacy Awards and the World Literacy Foundation. This was a special recognition was also mentioned for the Department of Education and Literacy Coordinating Council for the establishment of more than 300 local literacy councils that across cities and municipalities that ensures that literacy development happens in the communities. And we thank the World Literacy Foundation for giving this award to us. The award was given on April 7, 2025 during the World Literacy Summit held at Oxford, United Kingdom, and the award was received by our ambassador to UK, Ambassador Chodoro L. Locsin Jr. So these are some of the accomplishments and achievements of the Council, and rest assured that we will continue working with the different Council member agencies, I mean the Secretariat, in order that we can address the issues on illiteracy, and not only target basic illiteracy, Your Honor, but also aim for functional literacy, increased functional literacy in the Philippines. And with your help po, and the other members of the Council, we will be able to address all these challenges. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dr. Mendoza. I'll show slide 11 of the PSA. Slide 11, the age. Again, I'll go back to the age. This is functional literacy rate by age. And if you look at the age range outside of the DepEd system, this is quite a challenge, no? Because they're not in school. No? They're working. They have families. They're mothers and fathers. Some of them probably are in the informal sectors like fishermen and farmers. So it's a challenge for them. No? It's a challenge for government to attract them to come into our intervention program, such as the ALS. No? Because ALS is voluntary, it's not mandatory, especially for older segment. So it's a challenge for, even though the ALS is available, it's a challenge for government to entice them to come and take the ALS program. But in order to address functional literacy or to improve functional literacy in our country, we need to also look at the age range outside of DepEd. Now, this is a challenge, you know? And I truly believe that the only way to address this is to mobilize the local government units. You know? We cannot address that sitting here in this room. You know? We can only address that by mobilizing the local government units. That's the only way, because the local government units are our boots on the ground. They're the ones on the field. No? But we need to mobilize them and also fund them, because locating these individuals who are not functional illiterate, who are not functional literate, is a challenge. No? So my question is, there's a joint memorandum circular number 1 to series of 2024 that calls for the creation, reconstitution, and strengthening of the local literacy council. No? So there's actually an attempt between the DILG and DepEd to mobilize the local government units. Now my question is, and we have a representative from DILG here also, but since LCC is the central body, my question is, have we reconstituted all LCCs in our local government units? Does this this memorandum calls for the creation of LCCs, local literacy councils, in cities, municipalities? So talagang granular siya. So have we constituted all LCCs at the local level? Meron ba tayong database niyan?
Mr. Chair, not all. Based on our records, we only have more than 300 functional local LCCs in the country, and we are really still working on capacitating more LGUs so that they will also establish their own. So with the help of PIA in advocacy and DILG in cascading this to all LGUs, we this year will be capacitating more LGUs. I think a couple of months ago, we capacitated several LGU representatives at the Visayas region, and a representative from your office, Mr. Chair, was present there. And we will be capacitating more LGUs, perhaps additional LGUs in the Mindanao region in the coming months po, Mr. Chair. So aside from providing the manual, we also conduct capacity building to these LGUs.
Out of the 1,600 cities and municipalities, there are only 300 operationalized LCCs.
That is as per our latest record, Mr. Chair.
So that's not so much, no? Again, we cannot just, kung tayo lang mag-uusap, it's not gonna happen. No? We're not gonna solve this problem. We need to mobilize the LGUs through the LCCs. And the LCCs, this is a good idea, no? Because there's now a localized body that will analyze, address literacy in their locality. But we need to operationalize that. And there's already a memorandum circular to that effect. No? We have a representative from DILG here. Where's So how come only 300 out of the 1,600 have been operationalized insofar as the local literacy council is concerned?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. We only have 300 functional local literacy councils. No, that's according to the latest data. But unfortunately, we do not have the data or the reason as to why there are only 300. What we can do, sir, is we can request previous data from the local government units po, no, so that we can know the reason as to why only 300 is functional at the moment.
The reason is not secondary already. What we want is for the local government units to create it. Regardless of the reason, just create it.
Yes, sir. We will, if necessary, or actually it's necessary, we will issue the policies and guidelines po, no? Or we will actually advocate to the LGUs so that the LGUs can create the LCCs and be functional po.
I suggest that the DILG through the Literacy Coordinating Council should issue a stronger memo to all the LGUs as well as your DILG representative in all LGUs. Diba? All DILG has a representative in all LGUs. Correct? Yeah. Can you?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have
Then
the,
they should also be responsible in making sure that the local government units creates the local literacy council. No. I know that the representative is a very influential individual on the ground. No, they mandate barangays and the LGUs to submit reports. They should also mandate the local government units to create their local literacy councils.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will roll out this joint memorandum circular to our local government operations officers in our LGU so that they can facilitate with our LCEs to create the local literacy councils po.
I'll go back to Dr. Mendoza. I'll flash the functional illiteracy rates nationwide by province. Yeah, by province. Yeah. So have we, like for example, this one, have these provinces created their own local literacy councils?
Mr. Chair, as of the moment, we have no record of provinces having established their local literacy councils.
Then that should be the first order of business, to mandate the provinces to at least create their own local literacy council, especially this top 10 highest functional illiteracy. For example, Tawi-Tawi, Davao Occidental, Zamboanga del Sur, Northern Samar, Basilan, all of these provinces should be, at the very least, have their own local literacy council so that they can be mobilized. Without that body, there is no specialized local body that will address literacy in their locality. So that should be a minimum in order to address these problems at the provincial level.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will coordinate this with the DILG.
Let's use this PSA data. That's the reason why we allocated 200 million in order to get a provincial level data. Now, this provincial level data should be used in order to address literacy in our country. Yan ang bagong intervention that Literacy Coordinating Council should use.
Mr. Chair, in addition, we will continue coordinating with the National Economic and Development Authority, now DepDev, to ensure that regional development councils include these in their regional development plans. Thank you.
Okay, we'll talk. We'll call on NEDA later on and ask for their comment on this. So I think ang importante ngayon for the Literacy Coordinating Council is to use this provincial data and to make sure that these LGUs create their own local literacy councils. And on top of that, these governors understand that illiteracy in their provinces should be addressed. If we don't address this, then the cycle of poverty will not be broken. As long as you have high illiteracy rates, you will have poverty because people cannot be gainfully employed. Even though businesses will go there, they cannot hire people because there is no